PR Connections Radio presents
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Cozy Up and Pay Attention, Season 2. And I usually say if you're looking at my face, it's 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, but we're early today because I needed to accommodate my lovely guests. So if you would please take a deep breath and let it out. I'll be right back.
Cozy Stone is a multi-talented comedian extraordinaire who has a real lust for life. She also combines humor and motivation, where she is known as a humorvational speaker. Her youthful ways and positive light make her a beacon for those of all ages. Cozy has lived a remarkable life that has paved the way for so many. She had the longest running open mic venue of 11 years at Tommy Rockers in Vegas, called Cozy's Comedy Corner, through which she introduced many up-and-coming comedians. Before going into comedy, she was one of the first female personal trainers and one of the top fitness trainers in the world. She has trained many greats such as Billie Jean King, Roberta Flack, Andrew Young, Ed Bradley, CCH Pounder, Al Pacino, and Earl Monroe. As a former competitive bodybuilder, she also owned a bodybuilding gym for women over 40 in Los Angeles for several years. She has worked in top positions for HBO, Playboy, and Tony Robbins. She also enjoys volunteer work, dedicating time to the New York Foundling Hospital and babies with AIDS. Cozy Stone has a message that shouldn't be missed.
Bring me my wonderful guests of the day, please. All right, Karin, here's why I'm sitting here laughing. I know I may look like a little nut sitting here laughing, but it's my show. It's okay. Please pronounce your last name for me.
Oh, Kusumakar.
Say it again.
Kusumakar.
That's 3 names. That's one last name with 3 names. Okay, so here's the deal. You know, I'm a comedian, so I have to do this. Just tell me your middle initial is not a K.
I know, right? I thought about that. It is not.
All right. So I'm going to call you Karin K, and chances are I don't have to call you, say your last name, because I'm just going to call you Karin. Right? Okay. So, folks, before we get started, again, welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. I brought you another wonderful parent who is doing a job and taking on responsibility of giving all of us other responsible adults for society. And I always like to say, we know that there's no such thing as a perfect parent. Yes, there are books on the shelf about parenting, but it really doesn't deal with your DNA. So you have to raise your kid according to who they are and under your guidelines. And just as importantly, this show is never about parent shaming. So we're going to get into Karin's background. And Karin, I'd like to give my viewers an idea of where you came from, which brings us forward down the line of how you are raising your kids. So let's start off with, please, where did your parents meet and how old were they when they gave birth to you?
My parents met in Chicago. Both their families were there. They were born and raised there. They met on a blind date. My dad is 5.5 years older than my mom, I believe. And my mom got pregnant with my older sister at 18.
Okay.
I believe it's 18, yeah. Okay. And so she had me 5.5 years later. So I think my mom was about 23. Mm-hmm. And my dad was like 29, 28, somewhere in that area.
All right. Okay. So where were you eventually born and raised?
Oh, I was born in Toledo, Ohio. I was raised on the West Coast. So I spent my elementary years and middle school years in California, Los Angeles area, and then high school and immediately afterwards in Portland, Oregon.
Wow. That's quite a varied, so pretty much putting your parents aside. Well, you can't put your parents aside because wherever they came from, they brought some of their upraising and their background to you. And then they took you to California first, and then you went to Portland.
Yes.
Correct. But you went to Portland as an adult or no?
Teenager. I moved in 10th grade year. I moved to Portland.
And that's where you are now?
No, I'm in Texas now.
Keep up, Cozy. Keep up.
You don't want to go. I've lived.
Thank God I didn't take any medication. Where are you in what part of Texas? What city are you in, Texas?
I'm in Dallas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Big city. Big city. All right. So where did you meet? And you have 2 children.
Correct.
Where did you meet the father of your children or child?
Children.
All right. Where did you meet him? And how old were you both?
We met at Ohio State University. I was an undergrad. He's a graduate.
Okay.
And how old were we? 2002. So, yeah, 25?
Okay.
We're the same age, so 25.
All right. And did you have planned or unplanned pregnancy? Let's go with the first one.
The first one was unplanned. The second one was very well planned.
Okay. So you did very well planned. So you got married.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So when you met this gentleman, this is a total female question, if you will, but I would ask men the same way. Was it his brains, his brawn, or his beauty that attracted you?
It was his brains and his confidence. He's a very confident man, and he's very good-hearted.
When you, as you were growing up, did you always want or plan to have children? Did you want to have family, have children?
I never really thought about it. I didn't think about it growing up. I really wasn't. I knew I wanted to be married.
Okay.
I never envisioned myself raising kids, but I never envisioned myself not raising kids either. I just didn't envision myself. I always had a hard time, like, planning for and preparing for the future. Like, the hardest questions people can ask me is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or what are your goals? Or, things that are future planning. It doesn't come naturally to me. So I have to be more vigilant about it. As I've grown in years now, I realize that that's quite important. But back then, I did not do anything.
Wow. And I'll tell you something. You're pretty much the first person that had flowed for me to ask you that. And I thought, and you've corrected me in that most women, I do believe I can ask you this. I think most women, little girls, teenagers, somehow in their psyche, they decide they want to have kids. Now, I don't know if it's their parents, if it's peer pressure, if it's the media, but would you agree that for the most part, young women or women want to have babies? What do you think?
I have no idea if it's nature versus nurture. And what I mean by that is I'm finding now that it's more acceptable for women to not have kids.
Right.
I think there's a lot more doing that. And that could just be observational bias on my part. It could just be the people that I've seen and know. So I'm seeing more of that. And I admit that I might have a bias on that. But it is my opinion that it's a combination of both. And I think that there are a lot of women who do have an innate desire to have a kid, because I really wanted a kid when the pregnancy was unplanned, my first one, but I wanted it. I was telling my husband, hey, let's have a kid. Let's have a kid. And he was not ready yet. And things like that happened. But the point is that I was feeling that. And was it because of society or an internal desire? I do not know. But I do believe that there is that drive. But I think that there also needs to be an outlet for women who choose not to do that or do not have that drive. And that they
Okay, don't go there, because you pretty much answered my question.
Okay.
See, when I hear women, you answered my question. You did want to have a child. You did want to be a mother. What you're saying is, I'm not at that particular 15 or 16, but down the road, and the reason I know you wanted to have children is because you're on the show.
Yeah.
I now have a non-parent show. You're not her. And just to add on a minute for what you said, I think it is generational, because I don't want to say millennials, but today's women, a lot of young women today, they don't. And I say good for them. But my generation, because I've got you by some years, it was the thing to do. My parents' generation and the TV shows was the kids, and they were geared around having a parent, the white picket fence, and then it came to the 2.4 children. I don't know where that fourth came from. it was planned and it was ingrained in you. So moving forward, and the reason I ask that is because I like to ask women, when was the brain, the bronze, or the beauty? What was it about this person that you wanted to have a child with? What part of his DNA did you see was going to be instrumental in having having another human being with him?
Oh, he liked me. I say that as a joke, but what was it about him? He's just, if you knew my husband, he is like the kid whisperer. He's the Pied Piper. Kids love him. He is so good with him. To deny him fatherhood would be a travesty. It really would.
Okay.
That's not to say I had kids because he wanted them, but I wanted them too. But he's really very good, and he's a wonderful father. Amazing.
Well, when I ask that question, this show is to help young women or women who still haven't had kids to give it a little bit more thought in the person that you're sharing down the line, sharing DNA and sharing blood with. What are their good qualities? You see the bad ones. Why would you have a kid with this person? But once you do, understand you're bringing that bad blood into your home. So to have it expounded upon on this show is to maybe say to someone, because I gave it all of that kind of thought, but I already know that I'm way out here by myself in so many respects. But I want to know what other women think. All right, so it was a plan. Your first one was unplanned, but it doesn't matter. You guys got married. So did you use the stick or did the doctor? You're probably a stick person, aren't you?
I did. Well, I want to make it clear we were married before I got pregnant. We didn't get married because I was pregnant.
So your pregnancy was planned. When I asked that,
it was not planned.
But you were married.
But we were married.
That's my distinction.
You're making assumptions, Cozy.
No, that's a distinction. That's a distinction. The unmarried person has his kid and this man goes this way. The people who stay together, it's going to happen. Now, whether you said, okay, baby, let's have a baby in 2 years or 2 months, you're prepared to have a baby and plan a family. Is that fair? Is that not an assumption? I don't make assumptions, Karin, damn it. I don't make assumptions. Okay.
So your distinction is recognized. How about that?
Okay.
I recognize your distinction.
That's what it is. So you find out you're pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
You're a little different, so I want to ask: did you feel fear or fantasy? The pink, the blue, the what? Your initial reaction?
I was absolutely excited. I was so excited. So I didn't actually pee on a stick. So what happened was I missed my period, and I don't usually miss my period. So I was young then, and I grew up with Planned Parenthood, and I used it for like reproductive services, birth control, pap smears, things of that nature. And so I went there to get the pregnancy test because that's what I knew. I didn't know you could go to doctors. I didn't have a whole lot of experience with that. And so I went to Planned Parenthood, and I got pregnancy tests. I came back pregnant, and I always tell my daughter. I called my husband. I told him about it, and as I was driving home, I was so excited. I almost got an accident because I was paying more attention to being happy than being,
good. And see, again, back to my question a moment ago, when it's not planned, fear, even married women, I've asked them, how did you feel? Because that's a big deal of even when you're married and money's not a problem, you're still bringing an innocent or a human being into this world. So I like the excited word, and thank you for not having a car accident. Now, what part of the country was the father of your children? Where did he come from? Where did he live?
He grew up in, and came over here from India.
Oh, there goes the 3-syllable name. Okay.
It was 4 syllables.
4. I thought so. Okay. So this is good. This is real good. So you get together, planned your family, you're bringing kids into this world. He's from another country, another side of the world. What were some of the sameness, if there were any, or difference? You take it whichever way you want to answer it. That you had to overcome in bringing your children into this world, or maybe you didn't have any.
So we have different styles in parenting, but our values are pretty much the same. We believe in, like, we both agree with raising our kids with morals, and we don't do drugs or we don't have very many vices that you typically think of for vices. Financially, we're the same. So it's like one's not gambling or spending a bunch of money. We had a lot that meshes with us really well. We complement each other in terms of strengths and weaknesses, which I think works really well. We did have some barriers to society, cultural barriers to overcome, but not too much. I think the way he was raised and what I wanted out of my life and my partner was very cohesive and collinear.
Again, back to my question.
I didn't answer.
Oh yeah, there's a method to my madness. It works. And I want to stress upon, it makes a difference, Karin, because you did all of the quote unquote the homework. What kind of person was he? Did he have your same values? Obviously, he was educated. Did he care about others? All that matters. We see what happens when it's not that thought out, and it doesn't matter if it's planned or unplanned. But I believe it does matter when you're picking someone to have children with. Who are you bringing home?
Yeah.
Right? All right. So moving on to back to your household for a moment. You're being raised inside your home. We have our parents, mother or father, usually mothers, that we can call them nag, only because they care. And they're constantly giving us words of wisdom that we're just too young to understand how it's going to matter in our tomorrows. And you think of one or two of those words of wisdom that you now say to your children.
So you're asking me what I had as a kid that my mom or dad told me that I now say and repeat to.
That they will say and repeat because we become parents as we get older. We are them all over again.
Well, one of the things that I learned from my mom and what I really try to drive home with my kids, I have a saying in the house. I say people matter, or people are more important than things. And I learned that, like, my mom will give you the shirt off her back. Like, she could be dirt poor or whatever, but she'll still find a way to provide. She'll quit what she's doing to come help somebody. Like, to me, that's the lesson I learned from her. And I learned from my dad. My dad's a very loyal person. He will be fierce in his defense of those he is loyal to. So loyalty is definitely another one.
Okay. Again, they're going to follow. When it's done right, they can't help but to. It's called role models. How's that? We either have good role models or we don't. You two are great role models. Let's get into the questions that you selected. Your first question I'm asking that you chose was, how? Here we go, close to what you just answered. How much of your parents' disciplines did you use with your children?
Not, my mom and my dad were divorced when I was 2. So I was raised it was a different household. My dad was the Army way. So he did a bunch of group punishment and corporal punishment and stuff like that. I didn't follow that. I didn't follow that discipline with him.
Okay. All right. Let's ask the next question. What made, I said makes, let me change the word to makes. What makes you a successful parent, Karin?
I think the biggest thing to being a successful parent, at least for me, I don't know that I would call myself successful. I'm still working through it.
I know. Well, you have something to compare to at this point.
Yes. So I think one of the biggest things that I think parents need to recognize is that their kids don't belong to them, that they are just the stewards of their children until their children can make their own decisions. Their role in this life is to prepare their kids to live their own life. And too many parents want to either live through their kids or say, well, I made you, you need to do what I say, you need to be an extension of me. And I think that when you find the biggest rebellion from teenagers and kids as they get older, it's them trying to fight back against the I'm not you, let me be me. And I think that's the most important thing you can do for your kid is to teach them, is to recognize that you're their steward and to teach them how to be a responsible, upstanding, moral member of society.
And let them be them.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that makes you their guide.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Oh, I love this. Okay, your next, I think this is redundant. You'll tell me. I think it's redundant because the first question and these are my questions, so I'm criticizing myself right now, was what makes you a successful parent? And then I put on here, what is a successful parent? But you answered that. So we're going to move to your next question, which is, hold on. What do you think is the hardest thing about parenthood?
The hardest thing about parenthood is letting go of the fear that anything horrible can happen to your child at any time, and also to let them make mistakes. That is the hardest thing. I always compare it to like watching a train wreck. You see a train coming down the tracks and you see this car on this train track and you're yelling at the top of your lungs, get off the tracks. You see it plain as day. The people in the car, though, they're oblivious. They're worried about the windshield wipers or they're arguing. Who knows what's happening? They don't see the train coming at them and they think they know better, that whatever. And then this train comes, you're like, stop. You're yelling and you're screaming, but you can't do anything about it. It's their choice. It's their decision. And you've got to sit back and watch and hope that the carnage is not too bad. Wow. And that's the hardest thing, in my opinion, is I see my kids making mistakes and I can't stop them. And I wouldn't, and if I could, it's a line. You've got to make sure that your kids are making mistakes and learning how to make mistakes in a way that doesn't completely derail their life.
Correct.
But at the same time, you got to let them make those mistakes. And A, determining that line is hard. And B, actually doing it, walking the path is much harder than talking the path. Watching them do it and not saying anything or whatever, just being there to pick up the pieces is probably the hardest thing.
Mm-hmm. And I hear you so clearly of what you're saying. And the other part of it is not only that, but as you're allowing them to get these knots on their head, how it doesn't affect you and the entire family.
Yeah.
Right. So you still want them to, let's just take, for example, they're hanging out with some kids who don't have their same values and their same morals. And I'll make it real simple. And they go into a grocery store and they steal a candy bar and they know it's wrong. Right. We'll keep it simple, something like that. Well, that doesn't affect the family, but you still know it's wrong. And you really know it's wrong when you get caught. And in my day, they used to either call your house or bring your parent into the store. Then you're accountable. It can get bigger than that, but that was well said and well understood. Your next question is, what was the easiest age after 2 while raising your kids? The easiest.
Old enough to where they can be independent and not need you all the time, but not too old to where you leave the house and they're throwing a party or you have to worry about them. So I'd say probably 8, 9, 10, that area. I'm sure everybody says that, right?
No, you're the first person that's giving that question.
Really?
Yeah.
The calm. It's the calm before the storm that is teenager.
Yes. And that's why I put it out there to ask what was the easiest, because we know once that teenage kicks in, Easy goes out the door along with your kid who used to have a softer voice and was a little shorter, right?
Right.
And it's a different kid. Okay, we're going to go to your fun question. And I don't know. I don't know you that well, but actually, I would have thought Kathy would ask this question instead of you. But I don't think I had this question on when I had Kathy on. If you could shop free at one store, which store would you choose?
It's gotta be Target. Like
Really?
Target has everything. Tell me you don't go to Target and get excited at their dollar bins, and then you have groceries. And then, no, not
I don't. I during the holiday, I had a girlfriend, another one told me about Target. And maybe it's because I'm single. Someone gave me a $50 Target card for not this birthday, my last birthday. And this birthday, that card was still in my house. And this when I started having my what's going on with me, and I needed to get some Epsom salt. And I said, "Oh, I think I'll use my card." And I used my card. Now here's the joke for me: I could have gotten that Epsom salt much cheaper at Walmart, same size bag, but I used the card because my girlfriend gave me fever over not shopping at at Target. So it may be, Karen, to be fair, there's a lot of things as a single person with no children that my life has nothing in common with a woman who has kids. And no, I don't. I very rarely go in Target. I don't even think about going to Target. And when I go and I go in Walmart, I probably go every 6 months because you get the toilet paper and the wall and the napkins and stuff like that. And I shop out of Sprouts, so there you go.
I'm not a big fan of Walmart. I know you. A lot of people either like Walmart or Target. It's kind of like Coke or Pepsi, Walmart or Target. Target has it's a little bit, in my mind, a better brand and a little bit more high of a quality. I don't know if that's true, but that's my perception.
No, well, one of you, and I'll tell you, not anyone will agree with this. They've got better customers.
I didn't want to say anything, but you're not wrong.
They have a better clientele than Walmart. There must be a sign somewhere that those of us who aren't them can't see, but it just says if you're an idiot and you dress any way you want to and you have never ever passed third grade, come shop at Walmart.
Exactly.
Right. All right. We have made our 30 minutes. In fact, I've got 1 minute left, and that's because you answered one question. Now I know to take this question off, by the way, because it's redundant. I thank you. Now we're going to do a recap. In college, well raised enough by your parents to give your children what they need. That's important. Most of the time, we can't give what we didn't have. Sometimes we don't get it, and we still give it because we're blessed, if you will. Do your job. You are raising two responsible kids. You're giving them values, morals. I would imagine they have chores. I would also imagine your children in some kind of sports. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I just thought I made that's an assumption, Karen, but I'm putting one out there this morning, and so I don't have two of them. And again, I thank you. I thank all the guests that come on here for doing their jobs. I don't think anyone, even the parents who may not be giving it their all because they don't have it or just don't want to, could deny the fact that it's to be applauded, celebrated, and we as a society, as part of it, want to thank you for keeping two more kids from hitting me in my head, Karen, because I'm getting older and I don't want to walk down the street and worry about. Someone said to me the other day, "Coach, you may not want to carry your my backpack." Why not? I'm not afraid to carry it. I'm not afraid of the kids. That's where her world is, and she's got 4 kids, by the way. I don't want to know what's going on in her house. That's the kind of thinking. Anything can happen anywhere. However, the odds are in our favor as a society if the parents take the job of raising their children seriously. And that's what Cozy Up and Pay Attention, the Parent Edition, is about. If you're out there and you would like to have to be broadcast here on Cozy Up and Pay Attention, I can be reached at cozyupandpayattention@gmail.com. I'm still looking for men and women who made the conscious decision of not. In fact, I think after you, I have 2 or 3 parents, non-parents, back to back. And had 2 so far, and I've liked them. I don't know if that matters, but hey, listen, they're my kind. I actually had a woman say to me, "How can a person who's never had children have a show about parenting?" And I said, "There, duh. Have you watched the show? It's not about me." This is the one that's worried about somebody hitting me on the head. So, anyway, it's not about me. This show has nothing to do with me. The show has to do with going against the media that loves to show the negativity of everything and anything. And I'm a positive person, and I spend my almost every day waking hour of trying to be positive and bring positivity to the world. I also, speaking of my contribution to the world, I have 2 published books, self-published books on Amazon called Cozyism, The Art of Paying Attention. And they give you one-liners of humor and wit and a little bit more sickness into my mind. And it's accompanied with art. Wonderful artist, and I'm getting ready, I think, to publish my next 2, as I just met a woman named Karma. Now, you know, I have to do a book with an artist. I'm sorry, that fell in my lap. With an artist named Karma and her work. If she sees this, I'm promoting you, lady, and I haven't even done work with you yet. So at the end of the show, I love to say to my audience, not only are we here to help you make maybe wiser decisions or decisions that work in your favor, whichever way you want to hear it. And sometimes in life, when we know better, we do better. So I won't be on the court for a while, according to what's going on. At this rate, I won't be on to 2024. I'm not happy about that. But when I am able, I'm going to challenge you. So you can come to Vegas and beat my butt on the pickleball court, and I will have no shame. How do you like that?
Okay.
So say hello to Kathy for me. Thank you that we finally made this happen.
Yes.
Bless life. And it was a pleasure meeting you in person, and I really do hope that we get to see each other eyeball to eyeball again in the near future.
Me too. Thank
Enjoy
you.
the rest of your afternoon. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.